The trail is a metaphor for change. Although hiking, and specifically endurance hiking, is now a big part of my day-to-day, it's not just about exercise. It's about transformation. Each step is a movement towards clarity, purpose, and identity. But movement is one thing, sharing insights gained is another. As a U.S. Marine veteran, I created this space to help other veterans gain clarity, purpose, and identity. Let's walk this path together. This is Trail to Transformation.
Most people aren't broken, they're just dysregulated. Chronic stress, pain, anxiety, and burnout aren't mindset failures. They're nervous systems stuck in survival. I'm Leland Holgate, combat veteran and neuroscientist, and I created the Welcome Home method to help people rewire their nervous systems with breath. To go deeper, visit thewillfulwarrior.com.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. Of course, my name is Dr. Keith McNally. I am joined by Michelle Ann Collins. Michelle, thank you.
Hello.
Thank you
Happy
for
to be
joining me in conversation again.
happy to be here always, and I am really looking forward to today's show because one of my favorite things is to flip the script and be the one asking the questions. So I appreciate being invited on to do so.
And you know, I appreciate you've actually stepped up and hosted a few of your own shows. And so I am eternally grateful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, well, I love finding ways to support you and your mission. As you know, it's close to my heart as well. After losing my husband, my retired Navy SEAL husband, Lieutenant Glenn Collins, to suicide. So my life is also focused on suicide prevention, and I approach it through teaching mindfulness practices to, well, anyone who needs it, frankly, but especially to veterans, families. The stress of PTSD, as you well know, can be extremely difficult. Life can be difficult. And so when you have these grounding practices, mindfulness practices, it can give you a little bit of relief and let you live your life. But we're not here to talk about me today.
Or not.
I
Come on.
You went on a journey, and I would love to just open up. Start by opening up, not asking a specific question, although I do have some. Tell the audience what your impression of what happened is.
Okay, well, we're going to reframe this just a little bit so that everybody's in context. Before I went on the AT, we had a conversation.
Oh,
And
yes.
I said, when I come back from the AT, when I finish, and I used the word finish, we would have another conversation to compare notes.
Right. And we talked about your fears,
Mhm.
and we talked about what practices you were initiating to overcome or work with those fears. So I guess maybe we'll do a little more specific. What happened?
I did not finish, so we'll get that out of the way. And I already did one before this conversation to kind of give people, why is Keith back? And so, but
Hmm. Okay, good.
to get deeper into the conversation, there were challenges that I had identified. Some of the fears, um, one of them not being able to fit in, not being able to complete. But the reasons that I initially thought would cause those fears to manifest were not necessarily the reasons.
So what did you learn? You
Um,
had an unexpected event happen, right?
well, there were a couple of things. And so, physical, emotional, and then psychiatric. And so there's your triad. Psychiatrically, being in a place that triggered a lot of the PTSD that are associated with my Marine Corps experience, those did happen. So, away from a lot of people, so in isolation, quiet, the quietness of the mountains, basically. I was able to hear the voices in my head a whole lot clearer than I typically do when I'm home. And so even now, that's kind of an issue that I have to re-engage in managing. And then just the whole experience of being alone was not what I was expecting it to be. And then to top all that off, this old body was not able to sleep on the ground, no matter
Yeah.
how I tried. And I tried different things. I tried different mats, and with sleep deprivation, everything else went haywire.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Sleep is so important. So I want to go a little bit deeper into one of the things I said or you said, and I want to ask a question. When we talk about hearing voices in our heads, a lot of times people go right to sort of the stereotypical schizophrenia diagnosis, that kind of thing. And I just want to clarify that we all have voices in our heads. If you get quiet, you will hear there's a whole family in there, right? And we learn this when we study internal family systems. If you haven't heard of this, I highly recommend looking it up. But I would like to know if you can share, and if you can't, totally understandable, what do those voices say or do, and how is you, what type of response do you have? Like, is it causing you to sweat? Is it causing your heart rate to go up? You know, what can you describe a little more clearly what that experience is like?
I'm going to give it my best attempt. So it's not necessarily like somebody talking to me audibly, like this conversation.
Hmm.
Some of it is mumbled. Um, there seem to be more than one going on at any particular time. Um, they're not conversational at all. It's and not and from my mental health perspective, because I was a mental health professional way back in the day. Where schizophrenia, if I remember correct, I'm not being told to do anything like harm myself or harm somebody else, or there. It's just a lot of, I'll be honest with you, a lot of noise.
Hmm. Hmm.
Just being in a crowd where everybody, like a restaurant or any kind of external. I'm lost for words. Um, get the idea. Being in a crowd
Yeah,
where
yeah.
everybody's talking at once, and so there's all this chatter without
Uh-huh.
it making a whole lot of sense. And so I would really have to, like, if you ever like go to a restaurant and trying to listen in on somebody else's conversation, um,
Right.
to try to really understand what they're saying and what's going on, rather than it there just be this noise. Um, that's kind of what it's like.
And what's the physiological or emotional or psychiatric response when those voices get loud?
Um, at this point in the journey, it's okay. This is just what it is. If we go back a few years, overwhelm, frustration, anger, anxiety, fear. Try because you're trying to figure it all out and what is this and why is it happening, those kind of things. At this point, like if I'm home, it's just kind of okay. You know, I have to put a whole lot of energy in this conversation so that I could hear you clearly and correctly, and kind of do my best to kind of what is it, mute the other sounds.
Yeah, yeah, to
Um,
focus on one of the many inputs you're receiving.
yeah, exactly. Except these
Yeah,
inputs seem to be inside rather than trying to bombard me from the
yeah.
outside. So that's been the evolution of
Hmm.
this journey from from chaos and frustration to, like we talked about prior to going on air, is like take that deep breath,
Hmm.
relax the shoulders, and just kind of work with it. Most of the
Yeah.
time, I'm sorry, I'm rambling and I don't want to ramble. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to interrupt you then. Thank you for sharing that. The reason I wanted to go a little deeper is because I think this is a very common thing. I think you have developed some really great coping skills, and the therapists and mindfulness people like me can really help with focusing. But I do think a lot of people have a lot of voices in their head, and what happens is you don't ever want to say it out loud. You don't want to admit it because of the stigma that might be attached. Like people might be uncomfortable hearing it. And so I just wanted to bring that conversation sort of out into the normal discussion of, yeah, we all have a lot of voices going on in our heads.
Hmm.
So
I, I
that's
am
it's
I am
go
no
ahead.
longer afraid to say that out loud, because it's part of my norm and it's part of my
Right.
evolutionary story. It's like back in 2021 with the fifth suicide attempt, and then it wasn't until 2024, so 3 years later, that I became comfortable with even telling that story, and
Yeah.
sharing,
Yeah.
my personal story. Yeah,
I'm just thinking for our audience, right?
yeah, yeah.
That somebody out there might go, oh, it's not just me. I can talk about that. So, moving back to your experience on the Appalachian Trail, you had five main fears going in. And just like when we had our conversation before you left, we don't have time to go through each of the five, but we definitely could have, five episodes, one on each. Yeah, because they're really important. And each one is, again, for the audience's sake, there's a lot of people out there who have these same experiences. And, being vulnerable, admitting that you have a fear is hard,
Mm.
but it's also the best way to work with difficult things, right? So I'd love for you to choose one or two uh, and speak to how it came up and how it affected your decision to end your trail this year, to end
Um,
your walk this year.
So I want to go ahead and jump into the first fear that actually didn't become a fear or was not a fear, and that was my fear of the dark. And I'm not quite sure why the it didn't translate into being out in the open with only the moonlight and stars above. But it wasn't necessarily something I was afraid of. And I don't know. I'm going to say Ashley, my four-legged trail companion, may be a part of the reason why I didn't feel afraid. Like I wasn't afraid of a bear attack or being even a snake bite or anything like that. Um, and I can't really put my finger on as to why. It just wasn't there. Okay, so we just had a technical hiccup and I'm back. Um, I wasn't afraid of the dark, and I think some of that is because Ashley was with me. Um, there is no other way, I can't pinpoint, what exactly why I wasn't afraid of the dark. I still sleep with a light on now that I'm back home. I am really trying hard not to do that, but it's a slow growth for me. One of the fears I did have, however, was really the frustration of once I figured out that I wasn't able to sleep. I knew I wasn't going to be able to finish because it just wasn't sustainable. And maybe that's not so much a fear, but a frustration because this really was something I want to do. And so now I've got a plan for 2027.
And
Um,
a disappointment too.
Very much a disappointment
Yeah.
because you, my biggest cheerleader, and other people who are cheering me on, supporting me, the board of directors to the foundation, the producer of the show, and other people have really said, you can do this. But at the end of the day, it was if you can't, we need to make sure, one, that you're safe, actually safe, and then we just need to regroup.
Yeah. 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 I just so you know, the ripple effect is so much wider than you even are aware of. So when you started your the attempt at the trail, I was in Mexico on a boat with 8 other people, and I was telling them how excited I was about my friends, and this foundation, and all of this is happening, and it's this big event in my life. And so there's a whole bunch of fans out there you don't even know about. They don't, but they are, how's your friend on his walk? So it goes on, is my point. There's a wide ripple effect. So there's something I want to address here that I think is really important for the summarizing of this attempt, and that is, you've written about it, and on LinkedIn, I think, is where I saw the article, um, and the premise was I didn't complete the hike I had set out to do, but it was not a failure. And I would love you to speak more toward that. Like, it wasn't a failure. In my opinion, it was, a fact finding mission. And if you would have completed, great. And you didn't, but you got a lot of information. So I'd love you to speak towards, how was it not a failure? What was it?
That's a that is a good question because when I stepped off, and to give clarity, it was the end of March 2026 when I went out there the first time. I came back home for a couple of weeks, reset, tried a different sleep systems, went back out, just didn't work. And so, and the producer Laura Cross, she said this isn't a failure, even though that's all that's on my head. That's all that's going through my mind is you didn't do this, so what else do you call it? Um, I always use the word evolution because things happen slowly for me. And it was really a matter of, okay, well, let's process what went well. What did you do? What were you able to accomplish? I got out there.
Yes.
When I got out there, but what I found was, and this is going to go back to, even though this may be this simple, okay, just fix this one problem and everything else is going to go well. The first day back out, after a good night's sleep and breakfast, I could hike. I do it daily here, even though it's on sea level. I could do 12, 14, 16 miles, regardless of where I am. I've done it before, as long as the conditions are right. Um, and the conditions have to be sleep, food, toilet, all the basic necessities. And so that was one of the primary things that I'm learning. I think the learning evolution was learning about my body and how to manage it better, and then how to tell the story differently. You know, yeah, you didn't complete it. It's not a failure. It's a lesson. So what was the
Yes.
lesson? Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I love that. And I really wanted to make sure we got to that today. And I think that in itself is a mindfulness practice. I know I'm always talking about mindfulness, but it's acceptance of what is. Yes, frustration, yes, disappointment, and yes, learning, and all the things that you are experiencing. And I know it's a little bit less intense than the first days after you came off the trail, because you've had processing time. But I think all of being able to accept where you are, and understand that there's difficulties, challenges, and celebrations in your experience. And now, beautifully, we get to go on and get more awareness for the foundation, and get your boots back on the ground next year.
And that's exactly right. And one of the things I learned also uh, was my relationship with Ashley. And so She is always, despite being where we were, and there were days where she looked at me and said, "You got to be kidding me." And it's just that look the dog would give you. It's like, really? Because, when we went back out there the second time, it had rained. It had rained all night long, thunder and lightning. So she did really well. She was very brave, courageous, patient with me, I think, for the most part. And I say that because when I first adopted her, our first camping experience was not a good one. Being outside overnight in the dark was not something she was at all comfortable with. But now
Mm.
that we've done it a couple of times and far away from home, she's okay with it. I don't know if she enjoys it, but she's at least okay with it. And the fact that she stays with me, even off leash. And so that was the first time she was ever off leash anywhere I go. She's always
Oh, I
on.
bet she enjoyed that.
Well, she didn't go far. Like she wasn't trying to run. When I took her off leash on the AT, um, like in a campsite, she didn't go beyond, 5 feet away from me. So she was with me, near me, looking at me, even if she was trying to sleep or just kind of rest. So that was actually a good thing. She wasn't trying to add any more complications to what was already a challenging experience.
That's great. Well, Keith, thank you so much for your vulnerability, your honesty, your openness, and your amazing tenacity in keeping to the mission. And we will see you on the trail.
Well, before we do, because we got about 2 more minutes, let
Oh,
me
I thought
let
it
me
was
let me ask you a question.
yes. I thought we were out of time. Sorry.
No, all good. Um,
Okay.
off off record, you have a friend who is an endurance athlete,
Mhm.
and I asked you if you would ask her if she would hike the trail with me. Um,
Mhm.
is it a possibility?
Yes, absolutely. I
Okay.
think we can create a small army of people, a small platoon of people
I,
to
I
come
would
with
like
you.
that.
But yeah, I asked her. She's very excited about it. Of course, she needs some details, but yeah.
Absolutely. And so what my thought was, and like I said, this all wraps around being able to sleep. And even if it's just me and Ashley going back out in 2027, I had to find a solution to the sleep problem. And that has become with my AI chatbot, not Claude, just Chat GPT. I'm going to have a support vehicle, mirror my journey north. And so for as often as I can get, you know, at these different rest spots, hike your 1450 miles, and I got a truck camper, and I've got a trailer that I've converted to. I've got a cargo trailer that I converted to basically a makeshift camper, so that there's a bed, toilet, and so forth. That I'm going to be able to do it. So I've got the necessities to make it work. If there's a small army or even a platoon, that works too.
Excellent.
Well, I appreciate that. And with that, connect me with your friend and let's get conversations going. Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. I think we can start putting out the call. There's a lot of people out there who are interested in hiking a piece of the Appalachian Trail, not the whole
the whole
thing. So
thing.
you might be able to get a few people.
I appreciate that. Now, Michelle, close us out.
And although I will not be hiking it, I will see you on the trail.
Thank you for watching Try to Transformation TV. To support these conversations or to support the foundation, I would ask that you go to givebutter.com/T3missionorg. That's the letter T, the number 3, MISSIONORG, or go directly to our website at t3mission.org and click the donate button, or just scan the QR code as you see it on the screen. And as always, I will see you on the trail.